So we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th canto, 6th chapter, entitled King Chitraketu meets the Lord. Text number 40. So it is not a usual meter, it is unusual, but so we'll chant all together, first the word for word, and then I will chant, and then you will repeat after me. Jitam ajita tada bhavata yadaha bhagavatam dharmam anavadyam niskinchana ye munayam atmarama yam upasate apavargaya jitam ajita tata bhavata yadaha bhagavatam dharmanavadyam niskinchanaye munaya atmaramayam upasata pavargaya jitam ajita tadabhavata yadaha bhagavatam dharmam anavadyam niskinchanaye munaya atmaramayam upasate apavargaya jitam ajita tadabhavata yadaha bhagavatam dharmam anavadyam niskinchanaye munaya atmaramayam upasata pavargaya jitam conquered ajita oh unconquerable one tada then bhavata by your lordship yada when aha spoke bhagavatam which helps the devotee approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dharmam, the religious process. Anavadyam, faultless, free from contamination. Niskinchana, those who have no desire to be happy with material opulences. Ye, those who, Munaya, great philosophers and exalted sages, Atmarama, who are self-satisfied, being completely aware of their constitutional position as eternal servants of the Lord. Yam, whom, upasate, worship, apavargaya, for achieving liberation from material bondage. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. Oh, unconquerable one, when he spoke about Bhagavad Dharma, which is the uncontaminated religious system for achieving the shelter of your lotus feet, that was your victory. Persons who have no material desires, like the Kumaras, who are self-satisfied sages, worship you to be liberated from material contamination. In other words, they accept the process of Bhagavad Dharma to achieve shelter at your lotus feet. Purport. As stated by Srila Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Anyabilashita sunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulyana krishna anushiranam bhaktir uttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. The Narad Pancharatra also says, Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhaktir Uchate. One should be free from all material designations and cleansed of all material contamination. He should be restored to his pure identity, in which he engages his senses in the service of the proprietor of the senses. That is called devotional service. This is also called Bhagavad Dharma. Without material aspirations, one should simply serve Krishna, as advised in Bhagavad-Gita, Narad Pancharatra and Srimad Bhagavatam. Sisi Gonitai, Sisi Krishnaram, Sisi Radha Shama Sundar Ki. Bhagavad Dharma is the process of religion enunciated by pure devotees, direct representatives of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like Narad, Shukadev, Goswami and their humble servants in a disciplic succession. By understanding Bhagavad Dharma, one immediately becomes free from material contamination. Living entities who are part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are loitering in this material world suffering. When they are instructed by the Lord Himself about Bhagavad Dharma and they adopt it, that is victory for the Lord, for He then reclaims these fallen souls. A devotee following the principles of Bhagavad Dharma feels very much obliged to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He can understand the difference between life without Bhagavad Dharma and life with Bhagavad Dharma. And thus he ever remains obligated to the Lord. Taking to Krishna consciousness and bringing fallen souls to Krishna consciousness is victory for Lord Krishna. Savai pumsa paro dharma yato bhaktir adoksaje ahai tukiya pratihihata yayatma suprasidati. The supreme occupation, Dharma, for all humanity is that by which man can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendental Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted in order to completely satisfy the self. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam is the pure transcendental process of religion. Om Ajnana Timidan Dasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yanam Dasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Sabadantikam Bandeham Sri Guru Sri Yudhavadakamalan Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sirupam sagrajatam saganaraganatan tam sajivam sadvaitam savadutam parijanasatam Krishna chaitanya devam Sri Radha Krishna padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishaganvidamscham He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sudhe Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jitam majita tadabhavata yadaha bhagavatam dharma nanavadyam niskinchana ye munayo atmarama yam upasadya pavargaya. O unconquerable one, when you spoke about Bhagavad Dharma, which is the uncontaminated religious system for achieving the shelter of your lotus feet, that was your victory. Persons who have no material desires, like the Kumaras, who are self-satisfied sages, worship you to be liberated from material contamination. In other words, they accept the process of Bhagavad Dharma to achieve shelter at your lotus feet. So a very beautiful prayer offered to the Lord by King Chintraketu, and of course very beautiful purport by Srila Prabhupada also. So here in this verse is explaining, of course, many important verses, important words are mentioned here in this verse. And so first of all, Jita Majita, so that Krishna is known, Krishna has unlimited names. As we know, Krishna means the all-attractive. So according to his qualities, according to his relations with the devotees, especially in Braj, the Brijabasis, according to his pastimes, so he has unlimited names practically. So Krishna, the all-attractive, is also known by the word Ajit. That is not to be conquered, O unconquerable one. It is not possible to conquer Krishna by ordinary means. So many persons in the past or even at present, so they are envious of the Lord, even they are dare to fight with the Lord. But it is not possible to fight and conquer the Lord. And then even for the devotees, so they want to ultimately have so much love for the Lord that they are able to conquer the Lord by their love. But that is also not so easy. Practically only the pure devotees, they can conquer the Lord. Like as we know, the Brijvasis, like Mother Yashoda and the Gopis, or the friends of Krishna. So Mother Yashoda, she was binding Krishna. And therefore even Lord Brahma, in his prayers to Krishna, as mentioned in 10th canto, and as we know, Lord Brahma is the most intelligent personality in this material world. So therefore he was giving the charge, and is known as Swayambhu, self-born, the first created being by the arrangement of the Lord on this material world, becomes manifest in one of the unlimited universes. In each universe there is one Lord Brahma. And our Lord Brahma is the one who has the least heads, only 4 heads, which is already quite something. So to have 4 heads, we have 1 head, and we're trying to take care of ourselves and our mind. So he has 4 heads, and there are Brahmas which have many more heads. So now our universe, which is practically unlimited, is the smallest one. So he was giving the responsibility of arranging everything, so he's known as the secondary creator. The original creator is Krishna, is the source of everything. By his will this material world is created. But then by his arrangement, and the most intelligent jiva becomes Lord Brahma at the time of this creation. And if there's no qualified person, then an expanded form of the Supreme Lord becomes Lord Brahma. And so he was praying, as mentioned in the 10th canto, very famous verse, Jnane prayasam mudapasya namanta eva jivanti san mukharvitam bhavadiya vaktam stane stitas tudigadam tanuman manobhir ye prayasa jita jito pi asi traisti lokyam. Here also he mentioned jita, ajita, exactly as here, as King Chitraketu, that my dear Lord, you can only be conquered by your devotees who have love for you. So, and the other persons, even their prayasa, they are endeavoring like anything, but they never can conquer the Supreme Lord, or simply by knowledge or by a process of speculation. By jnana, it is not possible to understand Krishna. Therefore, even so many sages and munis, they have tried, as explained even here, so to conquer the Supreme Lord. And even materialistic persons sometimes approach the Lord and they want some favor from the Lord. And in this way they want to reach so many, get so many things, and they even may want to conquer. And of course, even ourselves as sadhakas, we want to have so much love that we can actually keep Krishna in our heart, in our consciousness, and in this way conquer the Lord. But it is not so easy. So we have to endeavor very hard and follow the process of pure devotional service, as explained here by Srila Prabhupada in the purport, stating from Rupa Goswami, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Anyabhilashita sunyam jnana karmanavritam anukulina krishna nushiranam bhakti uttamam. So that is uttam bhakti. So we have to ultimately come to this stage of pure devotional service. Anukul Krishna nushiranam, Krishna anushilanam, following Krishna as Krishna desires. Anukul bhav, favorable. So as explained in the scriptures by Sanatana Goswami and the Hari Bhakti Vilas, Anukulasya Sankalpa Pratikulasya Varjanam Rakshisa Savisvaso Goptritve Varanam Tatha Atmanikshepa Karpanya Sarvidam Sharanagati. So Sharanagati, we have to surrender, we have to take shelter of Krishna. So the 6 symptoms of surrender are there. Anukulasya Sankalpa. So that we have to accept, like sankalpa, make a vow, I have to do this, I have to follow the rules and regulations, I have to accept what is favorable, anukul, and pratikulasya varjanam, and what is pratikul, what is not favorable, that I have to reject. So as we know, Prabhupada also told us, we have to chant 16 rounds, follow the regulative principles, so of course attend a spiritual program, and then we have to avoid certain things, the 4 regulative principles, or as we know, Niti Shastra, the moral codes are there. One should not lie, one should not steal, so one should not speak harshly to somebody. So many smaller rules may be there, So one should know that and then try to act very nicely, properly, and in the matter of the consciousness, think positively and speak positively and act positively. And then always have confidence that that Krishna will always protect us, despite all difficulties, which are again and again coming when we are in this material world. Even as devotees, it doesn't mean now we surrender to Krishna. We take shelter of Krishna, there will be no problem. Problems are there, it is natural in this material world. And then also due to our past karma, we have to get some reaction. And even if we do something wrong as present, then there's some reaction there. So, but it is simply also the nature of this material world that some difficulties will be there. And then Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi. So one who has taken birth, he has to give up the body. And that is mostly also painful. And we have to prepare for that, as Prabhupada by his perfect example. So we're showing how to leave this body. And then diseases are there, old age is there, and it becomes more difficult sometimes to think of Krishna, to perform devotional service in a disease condition or in old age. One cannot see properly, one cannot walk properly, so it becomes a little more difficult. But if one is sincere and one is praying to Krishna, crying for help to Krishna, then Krishna will help us. And in any circumstance we can serve Krishna. So, but from our side we should try to see that we do this everything according to Krishna's desire, Krishna Nushilanam. Anukul, favorable, and then anyabhilashita sunyam, not having any other desire, means no material desire, jnana karma navritam, not that I am doing something from Krishna and I should get something back, or trying to get some knowledge just to show that I am a great scholar, that I know so much. But seva bhav, seva vritti has to be there. So always ready to serve, and practically not only desiring to serve, but practically to serve. And that is mentioned, ahaitukya pratihata. So it should be unmotivated and uninterrupted. And then only yayatma suprasidati. Then one can be completely satisfied. And that is known then as parodharma, as the supreme dharma. Pure devotional service. And here there is a description of Bhagavad-Dharma, and so that means following the religious principles with Krishna in the center. And it is mentioned in the scriptures, and specifically also by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in one of his wonderful books, Jaiva Dharma, Jivka Dharma. The religion for the living entity, and that is very nicely explaining the different forms of religion. But then he's making distinction between Bhagavad Dharma, which is also known as Sanatan Dharma, or Nitya Dharma, or Paro Dharma, Vastav Dharma. So that is the real religion, that is the eternal religion. That is the religion of the soul, and that is service to Krishna, unmotivated, simply for Krishna's pleasure. And then there is Naimitika Dharma, that is ordinary forms of religion, and which may be present there, which may be accepted, and we have to respect all religious forms and all communities, like even the Christians, the Muslims. And here in Bharatvarsha, there are many other forms of even religion, and Varna Ashram Dharma is there. But if Krishna is not in the center, then it is known as Namitika Lila, even following Varna Ashram. But it is not, if it is not for Hari Toshanam, for the satisfaction of Krishna, then it is not known then it is known as Naimittika Dharma, but not Sanatana Dharma, eternal religion. So, and then even when we perform Bhagavad Dharma, devotional service, so there are different levels of ultimately of the consciousness, and due to the consciousness then also of the execution of that service. So this first class, second class and third class, Kanishta, Madhyam and Uttam. So but we should try to know and try to come to this platform of Uttam Bhakti, as mentioned here. And there's another verse mentioned by Prabhupada from the Nara Pancharatra, Sarvapadi Vinirmuktam. So we should try to serve Krishna without any of these designations. As Mahaprabhu has told, I quoted one verse from the Vedic literatures, Naham Vipro Nachan Narapadiya Nabhavaishna Shudro Nam Varinacha Kabadiya Navarasyatte Rava Kintu Prodyanikla Paramananda Punamariptabder Gopi Bhattapta Das Das Anudasaha. So we don't identify ourselves, I am a Brahmana, or I am a Kshatriya, or I am a Grihasta, I am a Sannyasi, or Vanaprastha, or Brahmachari. Of course, sometimes for practical reason, or even to some extent, we have to also say, I am a Brahmachari. Or sometimes the president has to say, I am the president of the temple. But then we should always remain in a humble position and understand that this is temporary. And you can see sometimes, even myself, I was almost 10 years a brahmachari, but then I changed and became a grihasta. So now I'm thinking, well, maybe in the future I should be vanaprastha, and then maybe sannyasi. So that is not permanent. And even the position, of course, we should try sthite sthane, as Brahma is explaining, we should try to remain in our position as long as possible. And of course, as brahmachari we may be for a certain time, and then we may be grihasta for a certain time. That is there. And so as properly following the rules and regulations according to instructions of the spiritual master, with Krishna in the center and doing everything for Krishna's pleasure. What Prabhupada was saying, especially in Vrindavan, that those who are in the position, like the president or in charge of the Goshala or head pujari, they should stay for life doing the seva, because then there's usually continuity and there may be progress if they are qualified and if they are following the process properly under the guidance of the senior devotees, then there can be development, a nice development. But if there's too much change, then it becomes difficult. So we have to be steady in our position and try to advance more and more in our consciousness. It is not just the external, that okay, now brahmacharya should become a sannyasi, that is all right. But then so one must be qualified in terms of the consciousness and try to become more and more pure. And so that we can come to the highest level of Uttam Bhakti and serve Krishna only for his pleasure. So for his satisfaction as he desires, uncontaminated it should be, as explained here. And in this way, so Niskinchan Vaishnav, one has no material desires, or Akinchan Vaishnav. So it's one who has no material desires. But we cannot give up all desires, it is not possible. But we should desire to serve Krishna. So the emotions are there. Even sometimes there may be some happiness, Krishna has to be in the center, sadness, and sometimes anger. But Krishna has to be in the center and everything has to be used in Krishna's service for Krishna's happiness. And then we are properly situated. And then when we can be satisfied, fully satisfied, if we do everything for Krishna's pleasure, favorably. And then, then we can gradually become completely free from all contamination. And then we can conquer Krishna. Like the Brijvasis, Madhya Yashoda, the gopis, the friends of Krishna. So they were conquering Krishna by their love, by their service. But it takes time to come to that perfection stage. First you have to be fixed in following the rules and regulations and nicely chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So especially we have to see that we can nicely chant the holy names, give up all offenses, and then chant with love and affection for the pleasure of Guru, Gauranga and Krishna. So then when we can chant the pure name, then we can also serve purely. And then we can bind Krishna, then we can conquer Krishna, who otherwise is not to be conquered. So then it is mentioned about the Atmaram. So that is those who are satisfied in the self. Muneyo, these are the Munis, the great souls. Mentioned here the four Kumaras. But any devotee, so he becomes Atmaram. He becomes a great soul, Mahatma. And by fully surrendering to Krishna, doing everything for Krishna's pleasure. So in this way, we should try to please Krishna. And then, as mentioned here, that was your victory. So giving this, he spoke Bhagavad Dharma. He is addressing the Supreme Lord and telling glorifying Him and saying that you spoke about Bhagavad Dharma, about pure devotional service, so by which we can achieve the lotus feet of the Lord. And if one has achieved the lotus feet of the Lord, that is actually victory for the Lord and of course for the devotees. Like we say, Jai, Jai Srila Prabhupada, victory. Victory for Prabhupada. Why? Because he went to the West and he spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And he made so many devotees who are now chanting the holy names, who are serving Krishna. So that was a great victory. And of course for then Prabhupada, but he's not taking the glory, but he's giving to his spiritual master or to Krishna. So the victory of the pure devotee, that is then the victory of Krishna. So Krishna has been successful in reclaiming so many fallen conditioned souls who are rotting in this material world. Krishna is trying very much to deliver the conditioned souls, to help the conditioned souls. But unfortunately they are not surrendering to Him. But if somebody is surrendering, and especially if one is becoming a pure devotee, that is the greatest victory for Krishna, the pure devotee. So Jai Srila Prabhupada, we say, because he was victorious in making so many wonderful devotees. And of course Prabhupada was saying, I considered my mission successful, you have made just one pure devotee. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada was saying that same thing, and Prabhupada repeated that. And so Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, he was victorious. He established this mission of his Gaudiya Math, and of course he had many wonderful disciples, and they were successful. Even now they are successful to some extent. But then the most successful was then the greatest victory was then Srila Prabhupada, who made so many disciples. And now by Prabhupada's endeavor, we have such a wonderful devotee, such a wonderful society, so many wonderful devotees. So that is a great victory for Krishna, for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for Srila Prabhupada. And in this way, even for ourselves, if we take shelter of Prabhupada, of Mahaprabhu and Krishna, and become more and more pure, it is then our victory also. Then we become heroes. by becoming completely pure. There will be our personal victory. I made it. Like in the material world, many people, they want to become something special. Somebody wants to become, in India, a cricket star. In the West, they want to become a football star. Somebody wants to become a millionaire and have so much money so he can buy so many cars and have so much enjoyment. And if they achieve it, it is a victory for them, but it is very temporary and very insignificant. But if we come to the platform of pure devotional service and realize ourselves as the eternal servant of Krishna, our relationship with Krishna, personal relationship with Krishna, that will be the greatest victory for us. Of course, even we may have some other victories in our life. If somebody is distributing so many books, one has distributed maybe 10,000 books, it is a kind of victory, very wonderful. But if you're not ultimately realizing yourself, then it is not complete victory and not the greatest victory. Or I have done maybe 1,000 yagyas I performed for devotees. It is a kind of achievement, but still, if we don't realize ourselves, practically, not just theoretically that I'm spiritual, but our Swarup, that is the greatest victory. And then we can help others to become victorious also. Another victory that means to become free from the tumults of material nature, to transcend the cycle of birth and death. No more taking birth or no more dying. That is only possible when you realize yourself. And then your Atmaram, you're taking pleasure in the self. That is meaning of Atmaram, taking pleasure of the self. Of course, there are many meanings of Atmaram. It refers to Krishna, who is performing wonderful pastimes with Srimati Radharani, because the Atma of Ram, of Krishna, who is the source of our pleasure, that is Srimati Radharani. So Atmaram also means Krishna, who is performing wonderful pastimes with Srimati Radharani. And so the Atmaram devotees, they are fully surrendered to Krishna, and then they ultimately will take part. They will take part in Krishna Lila, either as friend of Krishna, and then they can play with Krishna and wrestle with Krishna, and then they will defeat Krishna, defeat the Ajit, the unconquerable Krishna. The cowboy, sometimes Sridham is fighting with Krishna, the elder brother of Radharani, and is defeating. Victory, I defeated Krishna. Maria Yashoda binding Krishna. The gopis also, sometimes Srimati Radharani playing dice, some game with Krishna, and then defeated. I have won. Victory, conquering Krishna. So if you have pure love for Krishna, then we can conquer Krishna. And that is the greatest victory. And then we can help others and make others victorious also. So a very beautiful verse, and of course, a very beautiful purport. And so it is already 9 o'clock. So in conclusion, so we should try to come to the platform of pure devotional service, and in this way become victorious, and in this way make our lives victorious, and then we can help others also. And in this way, Prabhupada is becoming more satisfied, and Mahaprabhu and Krishna also. So even Prabhupada one time said, as there were many devotees coming to him, book distributors, and they were saying to Prabhupada, asking him, so what pleases you the most? And they were expecting that he will say, as he said many times, if you distribute my books. But at that point, he was telling them, if you develop love for Krishna, that will please me the most. So we have to try to develop love for Krishna. Then Prabhupada will be most pleased. And then we can get the full mercy of Prabhupada, and then we can conquer Krishna. Hare Krishna. Any questions or any comments? Panchagoda Prabhu, any comment? Any question? Why we have to develop a love for Krishna? Is it not already there? Yes, it is there in our heart ultimately. Even our spiritual form is there in our heart. But it is dormant. It is in dormant form. And it is covered by our consciousness, which is in the beginning stage not very pure. So therefore we have to, it is mentioned, awaken our love for Krishna. So we have to get up for our sleeping condition. Now we are sleeping in the lap of Maya. Now we are in darkness. So we have to try to wake up to real spiritual life by following the process and nicely chanting the holy names. And then all the dirt in our consciousness, in our heart, becomes cleansed. And then the love will manifest. In the beginning, the little love is there, but at the same time there is lust, there is anger, there is greed, there is madness, the illusion is there in our consciousness. And so even if we analyze ourselves, so we want to chant with love the holy names. We want to offer the flowers to Krishna, even to Prabhupada with love. But many times we have so many things in our consciousness and so many material desires and some negative thoughts and thinking ill even of others and speaking harsh to others. So all these things are there because our consciousness is not pure, and because of that the love which is there in our heart is not manifested. All that is there, but it is not manifested. Only when the consciousness becomes pure, then the pure love for Krishna will be manifested. So therefore we have to try to develop the love for Krishna by cleansing our consciousness, by following the process, and then naturally it will be there. But we have to endeavor to come to the platform of pure consciousness, by which then the pure love will be fully manifested. Now it is to some extent there, and so therefore we are serving Krishna also, because we have some love, but it may not be pure. And but we have to see that it becomes pure, and that is known as Uttam Bhakti. If it is not pure, then it is sometimes Jnana Mishra Bhakti, Karma Mishra Bhakti. So if material desires are there, it is Bhakti, devotion, but mixed with the desire for some even prestige, for some material benefits, to be recognized or whatever. So then therefore the pure love is not there. It is mixed, the love, with our material desires, material consciousness. And therefore we have to continue the process, and then the pure love will be there, which is there, but it is contaminated. And if it is, for example, in the very beginning stage, or even the materialistic persons, even the greatest demon, he has pure love for Krishna. Because by nature everyone is an eternal servant of Krishna. But due to contact with the material world, due to being contaminated, somebody becomes a demon. And he speaks ill against the Lord and against the devotees. But he has love for Krishna. But it is in a dormant state, because he has complete material consciousness. It is not developed. So it has to be by coming the association of the pure devotees, or by the devotees association, that the consciousness becomes purified, and he may understand that he is an eternal servant of Krishna, and then slowly but surely the consciousness becomes purified, and then the love will manifest. And then in this way, the pure love will then be manifested slowly but surely. So therefore we are saying we're trying to develop pure love. But it is there, but it is for the conditioned soul, it is in a sleeping form, like our spiritual form is there, but it is a sleeping form. It is in seed-like form, but it has to be developed. So by purifying the consciousness, And then slowly but surely it will manifest, the pure love for Krishna. And then our real self will manifest. Our transcendental form will manifest as one of the eternal associates of Krishna. And then the pure love will be there, fully developed. Is that all right? Okay, anything else? Yes, one more.
How do you make the adjustment? Like, something you go, you come to party, but somebody goes to something, they want to...
Speak in the mic.
How do you make an adjustment in your consciousness? You're coming, so many thousands of Buddhas are coming out to party, and they want, or I'm telling you, I want to come and enjoy the kirtan, enjoy the nectar, instead of coming and chanting for Krishna's pleasure.
Yes.
How do you cultivate that proper mood of seva? You express the deities and then you get there's so much bliss instead of just.
Yes.
That's mentioned in the CC and on the Lila that the devotees they just keep it out. They don't want the nectar, the bliss.
Yes.
I can't imagine how I can overcome that obstacle. I want the nectar, I want the bliss.
Yes. Yeah. So again, here it is just a matter of following the process and with all enthusiasm. Utsa nishchay daryat. We have to be always very enthusiastic and fixed. I want to get pure devotional service. I want to come to the platform of pure devotional service. So the enthusiasm should be there and we should be fixed. I want to get that goal. I want to come to the highest stage. But then Darya, we have to be very patient. Like for example, even a material example again, even a child, he wants to become a doctor, but he has to go to school. Like in India, 12 years you have to go to school, then you go to college, high school, then you go university. It takes many years. To become a pure devotee is not possible in just a few days. Even though in a few years, it will take some time. So we have to be patient. Here we have to be patient with ourselves and with others. We're trying our best. But to be pure, it will take time. It will take time. To have the proper consciousness always. I mean, we know, but again and again we fall into the trap of the false ego, which is even more subtle than the mind. Already it's not easy to control the mind, the consciousness, and most subtle is the ego. Somebody is saying, well, why did you do that? Immediately, why are you telling me this? Immediately false ego, very subtle, very difficult to overcome. As explained, there are different layers covering this material world. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. So ether, and then mind, intelligence, false ego is the most subtle. But if you see the covering, most gross and most is the earth, and then but 10 times bigger is the next one, the water. 10 times bigger is the fire, and the biggest covering of this material world also is the ahankar. And even in ourselves, we have the gross body, then we have the subtle body. And most subtle is the ahankar, the soul, the false conception, and this body. And we can see ourselves also that many times it is very thick. Although it is most subtle, but it is very thick. The false ego, very difficult to overcome. No, I'm right. What is he saying? What is he thinking? I'm right. I'm the president. I'm always right. I'm just joking, but our president is very humble. President is very humble and is a very wonderful devotee and is doing very nice seva. But I'm just giving an example. Many times it happens. Of course, if you're in the seat of the president, sometimes you have to show, I'm the president and you do what I'm saying. You have to be strong. And he's very good in that, our president. He's a kshatriya nature. I'm in the position of the head pujari, sometimes I have to be strong, but it's a little more difficult because I have a kind of Brahminical nature. But now my health is not so good, so sometimes I also get strong now. So it is not easy, but sometimes you have to show, but then you have to control. Well, actually I'm the servant of Krishna. I'm not the president. But still we have to say sometimes. Or I'm the happy jari, you have to say. But I know I'm the servant of the servant. So seva bhav. So we have to serve the Vaishnavas, we have to serve the devotees. Always in this mood we are in the position. Facilitating everyone. So our president is doing very nicely. So facilitating everyone. But sometimes you have to show. But then it is you can get carried away. So like that, so but you have to practice and continue and continue and continue, and one day you will be a pure devotee. But it takes time. So don't worry if sometimes you realize that, well, I dress the deities and then somebody coming, wow, they look beautiful, immediately, yeah, I dress the deities. It's very, So not easy, but it's not a big problem. Not a big problem. So we just continue and we pray and cry that we can make more and more advancement. So the highest level. So but you have to be very patient. And one other thing, as Rupa Goswami says, you have to associate with the advanced devotees. Then it will be easier to become advanced, to have the high consciousness. Okay? Grandra Chimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.